is the 23rd of November 2023. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing to begin your day with us right here on the Morning Drift. There's just so much for us to unpack this morning. Let's start like this. The Meteorological Department informed every year that Kenyan officially that the country was heading into El Nino. In fact, that was 2 months ago. They made it official. They said we are 90% sure that the country was going to get into El Nino. Everybody listened. In fact, every other county was getting told, get ready, El Nino is here. That you need to be ready for those emergency responses. Good. Well, the president comes in, maybe just 2 to 3 weeks to the date that the Met Department announced that the country was going to get into El Nino. He says, God is good. El Nino is not a thing in this country. But you see, the counties had already made a request to Treasury to give them the money so they can get into this emergency response, according to the Met Department. We do not know whether that money was released. That's not sure. But now, according to Rigathi Gachagua, and he makes 2 statements on this particular issue, that money was released. In fact, to be exact, it was 10 billion shillings. So when he was in Mombasa, he made 2 statements, said, we've given your governors this monies. We do not understand why the people of Mombasa are drowning. We do not understand why the county has not moved fast enough to rectify the situation that has been occasioned by the El Nino rains. A couple of hours later, when he meets accountants in Mombasa, he tells them, well, if governors are expecting for us to release this money, it is not there. Yesterday, the Standard ran a story about how the Treasury delays in releasing the 10 billion shillings are putting more than 33 counties on the red alert. So the question that we're asking this morning is, if indeed that money was released, where is it? Because governors are ganging up against Rigathi Gachagua for castigating them on money that they're saying they haven't received. That plus much more on a bigger conversation this morning, including exactly where we are on the talks that majority of Kenyans have been waiting for, and we do have a date then, this December, just before the National House goes on recess. Kenyans are going to see exactly what the Bombers team has been talking over for over 60 days. But somebody is talking, and that is Ndungu on the taxes. He's saying, they gotta wait, man. Not now. I Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. We have a lot to unpack this morning. Hashtag Morning Drift. I can't get him online. Once we come back, then let me take you straight to your newspapers this morning so we can get to see exactly what it is that you are waking up to. Good morning. Jump in then. This is the Daily Nation. The bigger headline here is how Treasury gifted farm 5 billion for air. And this is a contract that was awarded in 2009, a tender to build an alternative data recovery center in Naivasha, which little known Misort Africa won, and which was initially estimated to cost around 800 million, has now ballooned to 5 billion in a botched deal that brings into focus the frivolous manner in which public projects are implemented. A particular story covered on pages 4 and 5, and the amount that the arbitrator and High Court awarded the firm for loss of profits, 3.7 billion. talk about that. There's a story here about how azimio tax cuts have to wait, and Dungu now tells the talks team. That particular story covered on page 6, and that story on governors clashing with Gachagua over El Nino cash has been covered on pages 2. And there's a story here on how now there's calls to move junior secondary to save funds. RUTO has been urged. That story has been covered on the back page, and the Shakahola story continues on the Daily Nation. Story here of how one woman narrates of her escape from Shakahola's grip of death. You're going to read that story on page 3. Let's cross over then to the Standard this morning, and that's the story that as a headline, this newspaper, the puzzle of El Nino billions, moving pictures there of Kenyans really trying to save themselves, just moving around by a rope. Now, this is what it is. The government set aside 10 billion to mitigate the effects of the heavy rains. However, county governments have been told to adjust their allocations to help victims. Governors are up in arms, but the deputy president is adamant. As a big boy straight blame, Wananchi are suffering. So where is the money? That story has been covered on page 2. This is what the chair of the Council of Governors, Anne Waiguru, is saying, that we note with concern public utterances that suggest that county governments have received funds from the national government to support the mitigation of the devastating impact of the El Nino rains. That story is what we talk about this morning. You can join us live, yes, for that conversation. And this story, by the way, has been covered heavily on our website. That is on www.lookuptv.co.ke. And this is what Rigathi Gachagua is saying about this story on page 2 of the Standard, that we are therefore shocked to see governors complaining that they are yet to receive money for El Nino from the national government. Such money is not forthcoming. As in. Oof. Okay, let's continue. On pages 4, report exposes shock losses in Uganda botched oil deal. Now, analysis shows Kenya will lose billions if they do not offer neighbor incentives to return. The report by Kenya Pipeline Corporation further shows how the deal was skewed in favor of Kenya. That story covered on page 4 of the Daily of the Standard. There's a story on pages 3 on how police run into headwinds in Jenga case. Now, officers have failed to link Maina Jenga to any crimes, while weapons picked from his home were not linked to the people arrested. About 35 witnesses then are bound to testify in this particular case. There's a story here on page 6 on why candidates are shunning UDA elections. That is a story that has been covered on page 6 of the Standard. And Israel Hamas agree on a ceasefire. Story covered on pages 29. And by the way, there is a story here on now KCB assets cross the 2 trillion shillings mark. That story covered on pages 22 of the Business Standard this morning. All right. That's what it is then. Majority of these stories have been covered online at Lookuptv on your on our social media platforms. That is it. And on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke. Like a lot of say, once you're there, a like, subscription, a comment, is what we'd appreciate once we come back straight to our newsroom. Right, let's then open this morning with that story for El Nino, where the Council of Governors Chair, Anne Waiguru, has disputed claims, the counties have received El Nino preparedness and mitigation funds. Waiguru revealed that the government owes counties 62.6 billion shillings. Now, this comes after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua claimed that the national government has disbursed 10 billion shillings to the counties. Let's take a look at that story.
To date, we wish to state and clarify that county governments have not received any allocation from the national government to go towards mitigation measures for El Nino.
She also condemned the ongoing battles between a section of governors and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua over the disbursement of funds.
As a matter of fact, counties are owed a total of 62 1.58 billion from the equitable share that is yet to be disbursed as follows.
According to Iguru, 13 counties are owed 10.17 billion shillings for September, 27 counties are owed 19.64 billion shillings for October, and all counties are owed 32.76 billion shillings for November.
Sisi hatujapata. Kama ziko njiani watatuambia zikifika. Tumeweka pesa zetu katika masuala ya dharura na hizo ndio tunatumia. Kama kutakuwa na pesa zingine zikija tutawaambia tu.
We did commit as national government to set aside funds for this intervention. We did appeal to the county governments also to consider channeling funds for this intervention. However, there has been a misconception that some county governments have been waiting for the national government to give them money for this intervention.
These statements came after a section of governors and the deputy president clashed over the disbursement of the funds. While speaking in Mombasa on Tuesday, the DP family stated that the national government had disbursed 10 billion shillings.
Na sisi katika National Treasury tumewachilia pesa kwa gavana zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 10 iko pale, na tunataka wananchi walishwe na wachungwe mambo yao.
More than 30 counties so far have been affected by the ongoing heavy rains and 72 people losing their lives. Mombasa, Meru, Embu and Tana River counties are among the most affected counties.
Katika sehemu hii zaidi ya familia 300 zimeathirika katika mafuriko haya, na ukiangalia leo maji yameanza kuingia na tayari yameingia katika kijiji cha Sogal, na sasa hivi tunatarajia kwamba pengine usiku wa leo yataingia katika sehemu ya Ongonyo.
Let's continue. The Energy Committee of the National Assembly was forced to issue a second invite to businesswoman Anna Njeri after she failed to appear for a summon. Her lawyers stating that she was sick and immobile. As Mevin Getembe now files, the committee has vowed to unearth the mystery behind the ongoing tussle between Njeri and the Ministry of Energy.
An action should be
Businesswoman Anne Njeri Njoroge, the owner of Anne Imports and Exports, and a person of interest in the 17 billion oil consignment scandal, failed to appear before the National Assembly on Energy to give details on the contested multi-billion oil imports. Njeri on Tuesday evening, through her lawyer, wrote to the committee chaired by Vincent Musyoka, claiming she's indisposed and immobile.
It's a no-show. For now, we cannot be able to tell why she is immobile. I don't know if the vehicle broke down yesterday or exactly what happened.
She did not, however, give any documentation showing that she was unwell, asking the House team to reschedule the session for a later date. Musyoka expressed dissatisfaction with Njeri's move, demanding that the businesswoman provide proof for her hospitalization.
We set a different date for her to appear before this committee, and if she doesn't honor that, then we make summons and we make her appear before this committee. That is our responsibility. When you go public on a matter like that, it is not no longer at your desire to choose whether or not to appear before the Honorable Committee of the House.
Businesswoman found herself at the center of controversy after the government officials claimed the consignment she laid claimed to belong to Galana Energies Limited.
And there are many Kenyans who believe now somebody probably is trying to steal some 17 billion shillings. I think it is fair that it is clarified. I think it is fair that the people making those allegations must appear before the committee and clarify a number of things so that we don't now then crucify people without knowing the truth.
Energy Cabinet Secretary David Chirchir, who is set to appear before the committee tomorrow on the oil consignment issue, has maintained that Anne Njeri is not the true owner of the oil consignment, alleging she used forged documents to ascertain ownership. Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
The National Dialogue Committee is set to give the long-awaited report on key issues facing Kenyans this Saturday. ending the months of a push and a pull between the two sides amid stalemate concerns. Now, the team co-chaired by former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and the National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah are on the final stages of negotiating the 5 thematic areas it has set out for deliberations. Let's take a look.
And midnight oil to be able to conclude on all the issues that have been before this National Dialogue Committee. Just to announce to you that we have indeed made tremendous progress on the 5 thematic areas and also considered a number of the other issues that we categorize as under agenda number 6, the other issues that were raised by Kenyans. We are now towards the tail end, negotiating and agreeing on all the nitty-gritties of what will constitute our report, which we do hope we shall be here together with our technical and secretariat teams up to Saturday, and we can announce to the country that we shall be able to have a report adopted and given to the country, released to the country on Saturday, a day ahead of our deadline of 26th November, which is Sunday. This morning we had a long engagement with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury to have a situational analysis around the question of the cost of living and the tax regime, with a view to also tying the knots on particular timelines of issues that would want the National Treasury and the government of the Republic of Kenya and the nation to consider, and we arrived at an agreement on such timelines and what reviews will be required. And I want to believe you will be able to see, and the country will be able to see all that, the details, in the final report once we adopt it on Friday for eventual release on Saturday.
Was centered on the taxation regime, as Kimani Ichung'wah just said, and of course the very important matter of cost of living. Yeah, so if you give us time, we'll be able to release our report by Saturday. The issues are heavy. And because they're heavy, they may look a little heavy on our faces. But we're doing everything we can. As you can see, we're actually working as a team.
This committee, and I want to assure you that we will have an output by Saturday that will be good for the country. As His Excellency has pointed out, we are doing this in the best interest of the people of Kenya.
During your last Manzonia,
a very candid, and that's why we sought to have a closed-door meeting with him, because we wanted a very candid engagement of a situational analysis of the state of the economy and what is plausible now in the medium term and in the long term. And to an extent, as I said, you are now driving me to divulge what will be in the report. Once we agree on all the nitty-gritties, you will be able to read it in the report on Saturday. Just one more day.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u has urged international development partners to reduce high credit interests and extend loan repayment time, noting that Kenya does not have a debt repaying problem, but rather the conditions for repayment are demanding. John Matava with the details.
High interest rates that are actually limiting access to credit and even creating some problems with debt servicing costs. I will be giving some figures actually later.
Finance and Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u has assured foreign investors that the government of Kenya has not failed to pay the debts, but the interest on the current loans is very high, while the time to pay the debts is running out.
We are facing short-term liquidity crisis, but it's not a solvency crisis. The biggest problem is that if you have or you move into solutions that are not sustainable, we can ignite solvency challenges, and that becomes extremely difficult.
On his part, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said that the government of Kenya is ready to develop good coordination, equality and common responsibility to achieve desirable results. Gachagua also launched an international development coordination unit to monitor development projects in Kenya.
The Kenya Kwanza administration is committed to resolve the challenges that have hitherto undermined effective coordination in a gradual and systematic manner. This forum marks the beginning of this process. In this regard, we are committed to strengthening our partnership, and we have integrated coordination in the structure of government, which is anchored in my office.
According to the representative of the International Monetary Fund, Simba Kiage, the fund is working together with the World Bank to strengthen the hard-hit economy of Kenya.
Let me note that we welcome the author's commitment to taking all necessary measures to revitalize Kenya's economy and ensure its long-term health and stability, which warrants ongoing support from development partners, including the IMF, to government's ongoing reform initiatives.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
President William RUTO has affirmed that soon Kenyans will be accessing medical services at no cost. Speaking during the Met's microbiology laboratory launch in Syokimau, RUTO noted that the 4 health laws under the universal health coverage are pillars of devolved health, primarily projected towards achieving free health to every citizen in the country.
In efforts to ensure that medical services are accessible and affordable for all under universal health coverage, President William RUTO has noted that the recent assented Health Act will propel the government to cater effectively to the health needs of Kenyans across the country.
Universal health care is not one thing. It is not one facility. It is a symphony of many elements coming together efficiently and effectively. It is facilities like this and many more, research, training, health workers, social insurance, local manufacturing, and other many components weaved together that will give us universal health coverage. Universal health coverage, therefore, is the sum total of all these units.
While launching Med's microbiology laboratory in Syokimau, Machakos County, RUTO noted that with health being a default function, over 3.5 billion Kenya shillings has been used to ensure medicine reach the counties and government institutions, a costly matter that compelled him to appeal to KEMSA and Meds to strike a partnership deal to deliver affordable health to the citizens.
For 37 years, Meds has played a leading and significant role in the supply of medical commodities in Kenya and beyond. Since the advent of devolution, Meds has supplied over 7.5 billion shillings worth of medical commodities to counties and government institutions, playing a complementary role to KEMSA. I encourage the two organizations to strengthen their partnership to exploit opportunities that will benefit.
Despite a major setback in health sector, RUTO said his government is committed to realize the projects it has already initiated, noting that the difference will be felt once the 4 amended bills begin to function effectively.
The supply of health products and technologies is a key pillar towards the realization of UHC. Medicine is only important if it reaches people. Surgical supplies only makes a difference if they are in a theater room.
Regan Lemeguran, Lookuptv.
Let's move on now. The construction of a new terminal will aid in solving the numerous troubles facing Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. This is according to Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who verbally disagreed with Kakamega Senator Bonica Loale in regards to the upgrading of the Kakamega airstrip while appearing before the Senate yesterday morning.
The Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has been on the spot in recent weeks over the various changes being experienced. A situation that has seen leaders from both sides of the political divide point an accusing finger at Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen. However, the CS now says construction of a new terminal is inevitable in order to address the challenges the facility faces.
The grand plans is to build a new terminal, and that is my focus. I am very, very clear in my mind. I'm very focused that in the next 3 years, we need to deliver brand new airport. That will be a signature project for this administration to turn around. We can't have built an airport that is older than myself in 1978. I want to be a partaker of President William Ruto's administration's grand plan to give us something new, fresh, that I am very confident and clear in my mind that by the year 2026, 2027, we should be singing of a new airport.
With President William Ruto in a visit to Kakamega County promising to oversee the upgrading of Kakamega airstrip, Murkomen now says the expansion and upgrading might not happen soon due to a myriad of challenges being faced.
The county government committed that it is easy for them to get the land, only for them to realize later that it is very costly. It will need about 400 million, which is not available in our county government. So because of that situation, the discussion that we've been having is to find out how can you fast move to 1.4 kilometers.
Kakamega Senator Boy Halwale, however, sharply disagreed with the CS, who he accused of double speak.
I'm lost because the minister has come to this house with a casual answer, describing stories of aircrafts. I feel extremely offended that this is how we are treating the public.
As the floods continue to wreak havoc across the country, the CS noted that his ministry will not be able to undertake repairs or construction of damaged roads at the moment until the rains subside. Murkomen's return to the Senate was not short of drama after Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei caused a scene for not being given an opportunity to question the CS, leaving the Speaker with no option but to order him to leave the chambers.
Okay, at this point, I will have to find you out of order. And I'm not trying... This is not a funeral. We've heard you. Please leave the house.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
The government has launched Project Beta, a digital reporting and monitoring tool that will be used to track implementation of development projects across the country through the national government administrative offices, as Gaila Luda now reports this morning.
While distributing region and county-specific tablets at the Kenya School of Government in Nairobi, Interior PS Raymond Omolo presided over Project Beta, a tool used to monitor the implementation of development projects across the 7 counties.
Launching what we are calling Project Beta, which is a digital tool for monitoring all the government projects and programs across all the 47 counties, all the 8 regions.
Omolo further said that regional and county commissioners, acting as chairpersons of National Government Development Implementation, Coordination and Management Committees, will use Project Beta to appraise ongoing projects, assess actual expenditures at different regions and counties. The tool aligns with the National Government Administrative Officers' mandate, enhancing their role as government first point of contact with the grassroots level.
You may have noticed that since the administration of President William Ruto came into place, there have been a number of programs and projects that have been rolled out across the country in all the sectors, whether it's in agriculture, education, health, housing, roads, and the county commissioners and regional commissioners as the key agents of government and also the key representatives of the president in the regions and in the counties are charged with the mandate of coordinating government programs in these regions.
This development follows President William Ruto's recent announcement during a national executive workshop retreat in South Sea, where he revealed the government's plan to launch a tracker to monitor every commitment made by his government. Alu Dagail for Lookuptv.
Two suspected terrorists were shot dead by police officers on patrol in Alego region, Siaya County. Now, in the melee, the officers managed to recover stolen weapons that had been taken from officials overseeing exams in the county. This and more stories in our Security Watch this morning.
2 suspected terrorists were shot and killed by a police officer while patrolling the Alego Magharibi area in Siaya County. The officers managed to recover firearms that had been stolen from officials overseeing an exam in Siaya County. The bodies were later taken to the Siaya Referral Hospital.
So these officers have been busy combing the area, and today they had a breakthrough of 2 of the assailants who engaged police officers, but they were neutralized. But one was arrested, and we want to thank members of the public who have been assisting us in this operation. But also we have recovered the 2 firearms which were taken from the police officers.
In Embu County, 5 students from the University of Embu were arraigned in court over robbery with violence that occurred at Embu University campus. The students are accused of stealing 18 mobile phones, among other items. 3 of the students denied the charges before Judge Joan Otieno, while 2 pleaded guilty and were released on a bail of 50,000 shillings each. In another development in Laikipia County, elders from the Samburu and Pokot communities living in Laikipia have pledged to continue efforts to promote peace in their communities. These elders are also urging leaders in Laikipia to caution the Morani community against engaging in hostilities. Bridget Agola, Lookuptv.
So the Met Department boss was asked, the president told us that there was not going to be any El Nino in the country. Well, he said, I do not know where your president got that briefing from. As far as we are concerned, we are told the country that we are essentially approaching the El Nino period, and we advised majority of the counties what they needed to do. We did our job. So if indeed the funds were released, then where are they? If they weren't, why were they not? Governors are fighting DP regarding Gachagua. 2 statements, just a couple of hours. Which this morning we talk about it. And by the way, we shall be crossing live in our broadcast this morning as well, right here at Lookuptv, because we do know that the Ministry of Education is going to release the KCPE results today. The last of its kind, isn't it? Because the last round of KCPE is going to be done in the education calendar in this country. We shall be crossing live and seeing exactly how the exams were undertaken. Remember, at this time, there are calls to move junior junior school to secondary to save funds. Is a time when RUTO is being urged to move move junior school to secondary, so they can actually save funds in this new drive then to modernize our education curriculum in the country, which is going to be what we're going to listen and see exactly what the Ministry of Education has planned for that particular area. And also, we do understand also that KCSE examinations are going to be released before 25th, and placements are going to be done immediately thereafter. I'm telling you, quick as it comes in and out. What we do know is that we're going to take a short break right now. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to our big conversation this morning. We do have 2 advocates in the house, Silas and Simba, coming in shortly, so we get to look at the biggest stories that you should know this morning. Good morning.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Once again, tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids, all because of you.
My name is Catherine Wanjiru. I am the admin, Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Our founder is Wamaitha Mwangi. We currently have 64 children, 32 going to school, and among those 32, 2 are special children, and we are left at the home with 32. Now the toddlers and the infants. To the RUTO Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guys, we lack words. We lack words. Amazing. We don't know what to say. Thank you for remembering us. You made a promise and you have delivered. And may God bless you. To my fellow Kenyans, as usual, cheza loto, sio ndoto. Angel Center tumeshinda loto.
Every time you play lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine. Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Maliki?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing the Morning Drift this morning to be your morning partner as you start your day. Well, there's just a lot that we're going to talk about this morning, but I just want us to go back to a story that has been trending. Now, DP Rigathi Gachagua is a man who's on the wrong side of governors in the country today. Now, my director, if you can, this morning, there's the dailies have asked that question, and that's exactly what we're going to look at this morning. If you could show us the standard this morning, so we start with it, because the question they're asking this morning is the puzzle of El Nino billions. That's the question they're asking this morning. If you look at that particular story, indeed, it is clear that the Treasury had budgeted to release 10 billion to the counties so they could mitigate the effects of the El Nino rains that the country is experiencing. And the Met Department did give us a report of how over 33 counties now are drenched in rains as we speak. And they say they'll continue to increase as the days to December then begin. In fact, they said, well, get ready for wet festivities. Now, that on the side, DP Rigathi Gachagua essentially made two statements in less than 24 hours. On the roadside, when he was in Mombasa, at the back of meeting Iceberg, they said, well, they had released the money that was supposed to go to the counties so that the governors could mitigate the effects of the El Nino rains. After meeting the accountant, he told them, well, the money is not there. I mean, if the governor is expecting that money to come, it's not going to be there. It's not forthcoming. So the question we're asking, if that money was budgeted for, and if you did read the Standard yesterday also, they had a story about how Treasury delays to release this money is essentially putting majority of these counties on the red alert. We're asking this morning, where is the problem? Let's take a look at this story. Once we come back then, see exactly what majority of governors are talking about, and then table the conversation. I'll be inviting the guests who's joining us this morning as well.
To date, we wish to state and clarify that county governments have not received any allocation from the national government to go towards mitigation measures for El Nino.
She also condemned the ongoing battles between a section of governors and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua over the disbursement of funds.
As a matter of fact, counties are owed a total of 62.58 billion from the equitable share that is yet to be disbursed as follows.
According to Iguru, 13 counties are owed 10.17 billion shillings for September, 27 counties are owed 19.64 billion shillings for October, and all counties are owed 32.76 billion shillings for November.
Sisi hatujapata. Kama ziko njiani watatuambia zikifika. Tumeweka pesa zetu katika masuala ya dharura na hizo ndio tunatumia. Kama kutakuwa na pesa zingine zikija tutawaambia tu.
We did commit as national government to set aside funds for this intervention. We did appeal to the county governments also to consider channeling funds for this intervention. However, there has been a misconception that some county governments have been waiting for the national government to give them money for this intervention.
These statements came after a section of governors and the deputy president clashed over the disbursement of the funds. While speaking in Mombasa on Tuesday, the DP family stated that the national government had disbursed 10 billion shillings.
Na sisi katika National Treasury tumewachilia pesa kwa gavana zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 10 iko pale, na tunataka wananchi walishwe na wachungwe mambo yao.
More than 30 counties so far have been affected by the ongoing heavy rains and 72 people losing their lives. Mombasa, Meru, Embu and Tana River counties are among the most affected counties.
Katika sehemu hii zaidi ya familia 300 zimeathirika katika mafuriko haya, na ukiangalia leo maji yameanza kuingia na tayari yameingia katika kijiji cha Sogal, na sasa hivi tunatarajia kwamba pengine usiku wa leo yataingia katika sehemu ya Ongonyo.
That's the story then, that governors are saying we do not know where this money is. And when the deputy president was in Mombasa, he castigated governors on why they're not using the money that Treasury had released. Another question we're asking this morning then, I mean, if the Met Department has already said, well, it is not essentially clear where this money is, why is he not telling the truth? Well, then joining us this morning then to talk about this particular issues and much more that we're going to get into this morning, let me take this time to welcome to the studio Peter Simba Wasaga, who is a managing partner. Peter Wasaga and co-advocate. How are you doing, Simba?
Very good, Simba.
Happy to have you around, man. It's been a minute.
Nice to see you.
Here's the question.
Yes.
When Gachagua was at the roadside talking to Wananchi, they said, we've released the money, 10 billion shillings to be exact. Went on right ahead to castigate some of the governors and told them, I do not know why now you are not releasing these funds so that they could help majority of Kenyans who are feeling the brunt of the El Nino rains. But then, Peter, let me just take you back a bit to what essentially we are thinking is putting us into this situation. The Met Department 2 months ago issued a warning and a directive in the country. In fact, I do remember the statement they sent to our media house. They said, we are more than 90% sure that the country is heading into El Nino. They went right ahead to give the national government and county government advisories on exactly what they had to do to prepare for this particular period. 1 month down the line, the president, during a church service, announced to the country that indeed God, being so faithful as can be, has looked at Kenya and said, I'm not going to release the El Nino rains. So according to the DP, according to the president, we're not going to have El Nino rains in the country. Good. Now that the money has not been released, and there was a story done by the Standard yesterday on exactly how the Treasury has delayed to release this money. There's a crisis in the country. The Met Department is saying 33 counties and more counting are now drenched in these floods. Majority of Kenyans have lost their property. And by the way, some of them, and we were counting, is now 21 plus Kenyans have lost their lives because of the El Nino rains. DP is talking. The governors are talking. Simba, let's begin from there. Who's lying to whom this morning?
Who's lying to whom this morning? That's a very hard question to answer. Because DP Gachagua, the president, and the Council of Governors, chairperson, that is Anne Waiguru, are all in the Kenya Kwanza government, very senior officials. So it's imperative that when they come out to speak, then it's something that they must have comprehended and they must have gotten advice from the technocrats, because you do not just throw out numbers. You do not just come out and speak without getting advice. No, and that is why there is the meteorological department to advise the government on the issues pertaining El Nino. So the meteorological department did their bit. After they did their bit, they went and advised the president. The president came and spoke, downplaying the expected effects of El Nino.
Yes.
The deputy president again came and restated the initial position. But the most worrying thing is that when you look at the utterances, and that is something that I've said and I've mentioned many a times, that the tactics and antics of the Moi regime cannot work in this current regime that is governed by the constitution, and that has got well-laid procedures on how to make declaration and how to run the government. Now, there was the supplementary budget that budgeted for that dispatched about 4.4 billion to the National Disaster Management. My question is, at this devastating moment, can we see that money being put to use?
Yes.
even if it has not been given to the governors to manage it? But then the other thing is that the 4.4 billion was budgeted for. Now, I was asking myself, how about if you look at the papers today, in the 2023-2024 supplementary budget, there was 4.4 billion that was dispatched, or that was allocated or budgeted to the National Disaster Management. And now you ask yourself, the deputy president, where did he get the 10 billion figures? As we speak right now, because you could say that because of the two levels of government and separation of powers,
yes,
the county governments ought to have prepared well in advance, because we want to also lay the blame where it lies. They ought also to have prepared in advance to mitigate any expected dangers that would have come with this El Nino. For example, you see Wajir County, there is a road that has been completely cut and services cannot be delivered, and prices of commodities have risen. You will see even a sack of tomato right now, it's selling at a very high price, and there is now the government that is stating that they have actually released 10 billion. So my question is, to whom have they released this 10 billion? And what was budgeted for?
Yes.
In the 2023-2024 supplementary budget?
Yes.
And the third question you need to ask yourself, up to now as we speak, the national government still owes counties. Around, there's a county that is owed, 13 counties that are owed about 13 billion.
Yes.
The other counties that are owed up to 19 billion.
Mm-hmm. COG says they owe 62 billion in total.
They owe 62 billion in total.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you cannot expect me to respond if you still owe me. How do you expect me to respond? Where do you expect me to get this money? I think the two governments should cooperate, because we are now talking about the lives of Kenyans, which basically is a mandate. It's actually our human rights to get all these services. And that is where that's where governance come in, where you use public institutions and public offices to advance the rights of individuals, to advance the rights of the electorates,
yes,
and most importantly, to advance the rights of Kenyans who are taxpayers, and not only paying taxes, meager taxes. We are paying almost all the earnings. The taxes have risen, so yes, we expect to see the reciprocity from the government.
Simba, I mean, Deputy President called himself a truthful man. And every time I look at him, he said, I'm gonna say the truth. But let's look at the statements that he made in less than 24 hours by there when he was in Mombasa.
Yes.
So we have him on record saying that the government released 10 billion shillings that was supposed to mitigate the El Nino effect in the country.
Yes.
Good. Meets iceberg, tells them, see, the governors are here thinking that this money is going to come from Treasury. It's not forthcoming. They have to make do with what they already have. A day later, essentially when the governors have ganged up against him, saying, well, what is this money that you're talking about? Could you please tell us in which account was it sent to so we could go access it and save majority of the property and lives of Kenyans that are going through the effects of El Nino in the country? Comes in and says, this governors thought that we're just going to directly release the money to the accounts. No, the money is going to come, but up to now, it has not come. So they gotta work with us. Why would the DP, well informed about this particular issue in the country, I mean, it could pick a phone call and ring Treasury. The president was not in the country when he was making this statement. It would opt to pick a phone call and ring Njuguna Ndung'u and ask him, where is this money? Have you released it? Or when are you going to release it? But it opts to lie to the public. The COG comes a day later and says, even when you are asking us then to go right in and dig into our accounts to mitigate the effects of the El Nino rains in our county governments, you still owe 62 billion in total to this county government. Some of them might not have the budget that you're asking of them today to go in and mitigate the effects of the El Nino rains in the country.
Exactly.
Is it okay for us now to point fingers at these two? One, the president, and number two, DP Rigathi Gachagua, for the lives and the properties that have been lost in this country because of the effects of the El Nino rains. Simba.
You see, in answering that question, you should ask yourself, what is the role of the deputy president? Is the principal assistant to the president. Meaning that he only speaks of things approved by the government. And the government here is the executive. So that whatever he speaks, we hold the president accountable and the entire cabinet. Because the deputy president, in absence of the president, should be speaking for the president. You should ask yourself, if this money was released at all, then when are they expected, or when are they expecting to release it? Because if at all it is to be released, then it's to be released now.
Yes. Does it also concern you that the DP did not even tell us when this money was gonna get released?
He did not.
He did not.
He did not. He did not. Initially, you see, sometimes I really look at this government with pity. Because anytime they are put to task, they will always shift goalposts. They will always find someone to blame. If it is not Raila Odinga, it will be Uhuru Kenyatta, it will be now the Council of Governors. A time will come when all the trees will fall and the monkey will have nowhere to run. Because you cannot have a government that is founded on lies. We as Kenyans should hold this government responsible. And we should, it's high time. In fact, I was talking to a friend this morning that these are some of the things that we should take lead roles and make serious litigation out of it to advance human rights, public litigation. Because if at all this money was released and then you still hold it, yet people are dying, do you want to release it when the devastating effects have gone so high, and now that we will only release it to compensate the affected families? That is what the Kenyan government, and many a times, we have a reactive government. We do not prepare well in advance. And when you do not prepare well in advance, you are caught pants down. And when you are caught pants down, then you have no defense. It could be that even this money could have been released, but then embezzled.
It's a possibility now, isn't
It's a possibility, because in the absence of any contrary evidence tendered by the government where they are not releasing this money, and this is the assumption. The money was released, it has been embezzled. The same thing that is happening with the fuel. We are not seeing value for our money. 17 billion was released to mitigate the oil situation, but we cannot see anything. As fuel prices reduce in other countries, ours keep rising. And that is something I would come to talk about as we progress with our conversation. But in very responsive government, Simba, where leadership and integrity are upheld, then DP Gachagua ought to have resigned.
Then the first person to resign then would have been the president.
You see,
Simba,
yes.
Here's the thing, and I would beg your indulgence in this.
Yes.
If you are the CS Treasury, the Met Department has already done its job completely. There's somebody who gets paid to advise the country on exactly how the weather patterns are going to be. Then somebody does his job, tells you, oh, guys, in 2 months, we are more than 90% sure this country is going to go back into El Nino. And we have examples. I mean, President Dr. William RUTO was in government when this country went to El Nino in 1998. He knows exactly what happened in this country.
Yes.
I mean, if he could have been the first person to react now that he's in power, he would have said, guys, I know exactly what El Nino means. And that man there telling us that we're going into El Nino, I've got example. Let's please get ready. 1 month down the line, in a church service, the president comes in and says, well, guys, God is so good. There is no El Nino that's going to happen in this country. Then a couple of weeks later, more than 33 counties are drenched. In fact, Kenyans are losing their lives today and counting, Simba.
Yes.
Some areas have been cut off completely.
Yeah.
You've seen exactly what has happened to even the police in this country who are trying to send food supplies in El Nino heat areas. Majority of them have lost their lives, and there's proper destruction of property. Teachers are dying just from delivering exams to the El Nino heat areas.
Yes.
Should he be the first person to say, maybe I misadvised the Treasury? Because if you are the CS Treasury and your president is here telling you, well, there's no El Nino, man, why would I release that money, Simba? Why would I release it?
Who misadvised who, Simba?
It is the president misadvising the country and the Treasury at large.
I'm not holding brief for the president.
Yes.
And I will never do that. But my question is, the president came, and I think after the church service, there is a time he stood and gave a press conference to that effect, that he had received an advice from the meteorological department that the effect of El Nino would not be as expected.
When the Met boss also now later is asked, who gave the brief to the president? The Met boss goes like, guys, I do not know who told the president that we're going to have these effects. We well told them. And in fact, he's saying we're on record. Go check the records. So when the president comes in and saying that I got brief from the Met Department, but the Met Department are saying that checkers, we are on record telling this country that look here, the government is going to go, the country is going to experience El Nino. That's what I'm saying, that Simba, whether we like it or not, at one point, the president has to come in and own and say, it's me. That's why the Treasury hasn't released this money, because I give contradictory statements from what the Met Department said, Simba.
And I wonder, where is the government spokesman in all this? Where is the clarification? You see, a government is not run on instincts. A government is run on proper advice. And that is why in all these parastatals and these departments, we need to put technocrats. So that when a technocrat gives his opinion or our opinion, or as a department they give their opinion, then unless they retract it, then that remains the supreme position. You cannot, by your own instinct, now come and downplay the entire thing. In that I agree with you, Simba, that the president, the deputy president, the cabinet secretary should own and take responsibility for all that is happening to Kenyans. But most importantly, the meteorological department, if at all they briefed the president, then the entire board should be disbanded. Because we cannot live in a country whereby everything is done in a clueless manner. Everything is being guessed and nothing seems to be working. You see? And this is something that, Simba, it comes when you, and again, that is something that we have seen, which again I think we'll talk, that a government should be run on the basis of competence. So that when you bring anyone to a position of a cabinet secretary, yes, or a CEO, or even a chairman of a department, then this should not only be informed by where they are coming from or their origin. It should be based on competence. Mm-hmm. It should be based on what they have done in the past, yes, and their qualifications. So when you miss out on that, Simba, mm-hmm, then you miss out on everything.
Here's the thing, and if Sheila, if you're listening this morning, then I want you to go back to just after this clip. Simba will tell you exactly what the critics of DP, Rigathi Gachagua, saying. That Mombasa is a tough for the opposition government, mm-hmm, for the opposition. We do know that very well. The governor for Mombasa, yes, is essentially an ODM candidate, and we do know that very well. Mm. So when DP Rigathi Gachagua is right there, whatever he's doing is playing politics. And we did see that. Now, I'm going to play for you 2 clips here. Yes. First of all, I want to play the clip of Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad, who was essentially reacting to that particular speech by DP Rigathi Gachagua. I don't want to call it a speech because it was on the roadside. So once we come back again, I'll play the same reaction from the COG, Anne Waiguru. The question we're asking this morning, yes, Simba, is who's angry enough? Because we do know Anne Waiguru. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's politics. We can place her in a party. Yes. The question we're asking is, are these governors angry enough to show us exactly what's going on in these counties, and to also ask the national government, where is this money? Let's listen to what Abdul Samad said yesterday then, just the day before yesterday, after Rigathi Gachagua told him, we gave you the money, why do we have flats in Mombasa? Let's take a look.
Ule si banduki, bandari iweze kuwafaa watu wa Mombasa, ikiwachoma chomekeni. Hamna hivi wala hivi, my friend. Kama itakuwa ni kutimiza sifa zenu 3, ndio mutaona ya kwa mutamfanya gavana Abdul Swamad alewelewe. Mimi mizizi yangu ni watu wa Mombasa. Na watu wa Mombasa mizizi yao, tabia yao ni kama mibuyu. Kuyakata ni ngumu mno. Kuyakata ni ngumu mno. Mimi nina radhi za wazee wangu na nina radhi za watu wa Mombasa. Kwa hivyo tukaneni, toeni kucha zenu, onesheni zile ambazo kwamba ni dalili na mithili yenu, lakini hatuteteleki, tutaendelea, hatukusimama hapa. Tena wale wenye kunipinga sasa, walinipinga tangu nikiwa katika bunge, nilipokuwa natetea masala ya bandari. Tutaendelea kuzungumza, likiwachoma chomekeni. Hatuuziwi uoga. Na kama tatizo ni kwa Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir, yeye msimamo wake ni kuwa na Raila Amolo Odinga, ni kwa sababu babangu aliyenilea kisiasa, akanishika mkono, akaniinua tangu nilipokuwa mbunge, akanithamini, nikawa mwenyekiti aliyenguruma ndani ya bunge, ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Aliyezunguka hii Mombasa na kusema gavana atakayefaa ni Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir, ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Mkosa fadhila ndio yule ambaye kwamba mwenye kuregesha mema na mate.
Ukitaka kujua sifa za mnafiki na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza,
Simba, you say what that is now turned out to. And just before you come on it, I just want you to check the energy that is using then to castigate the DP for playing politics in his counties, telling him, I do not understand why you'll come here and play politics at a time when majority of Kenyans are losing their lives and property at this time. Now, take note of that energy. Now, let's look at one Anne Waiguru, the COG then. And you're wondering, the same voice that this guy is speaking with, the Mombasa County Governor, is the one that we would have expected from Anne Waiguru, come in and hit them hard. All right? Let's take in, not for so long, just check the energy levels and then come back and talk about it.
I wish to state and clarify that county governments have not received any allocation from the national government to go towards mitigation measures for El Nino.
She also condemned the ongoing battles between a section of governors and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua over the disbursement of funds.
As a matter of fact, counties are owed a total of 62.58 billion from the equitable share that is yet to be disbursed as follows.
According to Waiguru, 13 counties are owed 10.17 billion shillings for September, 27 counties are owed 19.64 billion shillings for October, and all counties are owed 32.76 billion shillings for November.
Sisi hatujapata. Kama ziko njiani watatuambia zikifika. Tumeweka pesa zetu katika masuala ya dharura na hizo ndio tunatumia. Kama kutakuwa na pesa zingine zikija tutawaambia tu.
You know what? I might be wrong. And probably this might be the wrongest question to ask on air as a journalist who should be sticking to facts. But I looked at it yesterday. I watched this story and I had the privilege of sitting with somebody in the house when we were running the story. And then they asked the question, why is she not calling out the DP? Not at once, Simba. She just went and laid bare the facts, and we do appreciate that. All right? But she went ahead and then to say, well, these are the real facts. But not at one point did she tell the DP, you are lying, stop that, give us the money today, and stop abusing and castigating the governors in this country, because in reality, we have not seen that money, we have not received it. She had the privilege to judge the two statements, the three statements, by the way, that the DP made. 3, the money was released. The money is not there. The money might not come, so use whatever it is that you have. 3 statements that were addressed to the governors. The money was released, 10 billion. The money will not come.
Will not come.
Told ISPAC. Yeah, in Mombasa, during that convention, isn't it? Will not come. When he told them, we need ideas on how to run this government. Then later on, when there was fire now from all the governors in the country, said, well, I mean, the money might not come. 3 statement. Simba, I might be wrong. That's what I'm saying. It might be the wrong question to ask as a journalist, but she hasn't called out the DP for lying.
True to that fact. And she may not do that very soon. You see, there are also party politics playing. And as you know, Waiguru's position, she was fronted by the Kenya Kwanza government. And you've seen many a times the deputy president speaks of politics of shares, meaning that in the shareholding, they identified key positions, one of them being the chairperson for the Council of Governors. If you ask me, there are so many qualified governors who would stand and defend the governors.
Yes.
We have seen governors like RUTO. We have seen governors like Oparanya and their positions. We have seen Munya and how they stood to defend the position of governors. One thing that Governor Waiguru should know is that there are 2 levels of governments. As much as they need to cooperate, there is also the aspect of autonomy. There is also aspect of accountability. And there is also the aspect of fighting for what belongs to them. Now, it is, you asking why the energy is not as expected. You see, there is this notion that when couples fight, they fight from the same, they fight on the same side.
Yes.
So that you should not come out to expose your king when the king is naked. So that is what Waiguru is trying very much, not to expose the DP. Because as things stand, facts are speaking for themselves. That the deputy president,
yes,
one is lying to Kenyans. And the deputy president is the deputy party leader of Kenya Kwanza, and he's also the deputy president of the Kenya Kwanza government.
That's it.
So Waiguru has to get the best words to just massage the incoming kingpin of the mountain. That is number one. Number two, Waiguru also fears, because you see, right now, everyone can be mobilized. And she fears that if she comes out very hard to point out at the shortfalls of the deputy president, it may not only interfere, because you see the history of Waiguru. Waiguru has always been saved by the members of parliament, by the executive, when she was put to a lot of pressure, impeachments and everything. So that could also explain. So there are three things. To my understanding, there are three things. Number one, Waiguru is not talking tough as expected,
yes,
because they are on the same side with the deputy president in terms of the government.
Yes,
and she does not want to wash their dirty linen in public, of which the linen is already showing in the public to be very dirty. Number two, she is also trading cautiously, so that the deputy president does not use that as a political tool, that you see, now those who should defend me have deserted me. And number three, Waiguru is not speaking as a representative, let me say not speaking as a representative of the governors, but she's not taking the leadership roles as the governor's chair, the Council of Governors chair.
Okay.
She should have allegiance first to the Council of Governors before the Kenya Kwanza government. So if she understood her role, then we shall be having a very smooth cooperation and accountability. The same thing that the Mombasa governor is doing. You see, Mombasa governor is doing that with that vigor, because number one, he is also doing it as a leader of opposition, as a member of the opposition party. So he's putting the government to account for their utterances, for their purported dispatch of money which are not forthcoming. And number three is speaking rightly to the president that he cannot be intimidated. So, and of course, as expected, everything in Kenya is politics.
That's it.
And like I said, politicians will have a way of shifting the blames and making it to appear as though the other political formation is not that realistic with their demands,
yes,
and that they are being wrongfully targeted, and that someone is distracting them. So it is upon the members of the public also to take up this responsibility,
yes,
of putting the government of the day on task and ask very tough questions. Because if you expect politicians to ask questions, and you see some of these politicians, when you ask tough questions, you have underlying and unresolved issues. You fear that they may be reignited. And when they are reignited, it will just throw you off balance. So we need the activists, we need professionals, and we need the electorates to show their anger by making the necessary steps.
Pretty much. Simba, if we can, let's move into the next issue this morning, by the way. Now, here's the thing, and I don't know whether the majority of Kenyans are waiting for this report. The bipartisan team that sat for a very long time at the Bomas of Kenya, by the more than 60 days, they've officially announced this December, just before they go on recess. We know they're supposed to go on recess on 15th, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
They'll be tabling that report. Now, Simba, let me tell you exactly what happened last week. Last week at the report writing stage, just here at Hilton Inn, Azimio coalition, at the report writing stage, they came in with fresh demands. said, but if you're going to write that report, please include this. Because the Kenya is an ongoing concern, and we realize there's some issues here that need to be added to that report. And since we are still within our window, you know, of talking about the 5 thematic issues, please include 1, 2, 3, up to 9 fresh new demands. Well, the Kenya Kwanza side looked at it and said, this is stupid. They left and went home. There's a man who spoke about it yesterday, Prof. Njuguna Ndung'u. And if we look at, I think it's the Daily Nation this morning, Sheila, if you can, there's a story there that the Daily Nation ran this morning of Njuguna Ndung'u saying those tax cut demands that the azimio coalition is talking about in those talks have to wait. They ran that story. So even as Kenyans are waiting for that particular report, there are still people waiting on it as we wait for that particular report to be tabled. And Njuguna Ndung'u is the latest one to weigh in on it, especially on the cost of living and taxation in the country. Now, on that fresh demand, by the way, they said reduce the VAT on petroleum products in the country from 16% to 8%. That was specific, by the way. Said on a housing levy, which is now a tax, by the way, they said take it out. Last week, the president said, I'd rather that report fails than losing housing levy. Let's take a look at that particular story. Once we come back then, we talk about it right here with Simba.
And midnight oil to be able to conclude on all the issues that have been before this National Dialogue Committee. Just to announce to you that we have indeed made tremendous progress on the 5 thematic areas and also considered a number of the other issues that we categorize as under agenda number 6, the other issues that were raised by Kenyans. We are now towards the tail end, negotiating and agreeing on all the nitty-gritties of what will constitute our report, which we do hope we shall be here together with our technical and secretariat teams up to Saturday. And we can announce to the country that we shall be able to have a report adopted and given to the country, released to the country on Saturday, a day ahead of our deadline of 26th November, which is Sunday. This morning we had a long engagement with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury to have a situational analysis around the question of the cost of living and the tax regime, with a view to also tying the knots on particular timelines of issues that would want the National Treasury and the Government of the Republic of Kenya and the nation to consider, and we arrived at an agreement on such timelines and what reviews will be required. And I want to believe you will be able to see, and the country will be able to see all that, the details, in the final report once we adopt it on Friday for eventual release on Saturday.
Was centered on the taxation regime, as Kimani Ichung'wa has just said. And of course, the very important matter of cost of living. Yeah, so if you give us time, we'll be able to release our report by Saturday.
That's it then. I do not know whether you're still interested in this report. It's coming out this Saturday. And I see what the chair from the UDA side or the government side is saying, well, we beat the deadline. We're supposed to get done with it on 26th. By the way, the deadline it's not even that, because they still have, 14 days, out of the 30 extra days they requested for. They have not essentially beaten into all of them. That means that they can still go back, according to what was adopted in the National House. Now, that notwithstanding, see, Simba, what Kimani Ichung'wa is essentially saying that they invited in the Cabinet Secretary, Treasury and National Planning, at the report writing stage, to essentially help them weigh in on these tax demands that the Azimio coalition was making about. So immediately after he appeared and advised that particular committee or that report writing stage, he went in and made a statement told them, hey, guys, you see these tax demands that you guys are making here, they gotta wait. And the tax demands, by the way, are quite a lot, because that's exactly what the Azimio coalition is saying is impacting on the cost of living, which even the government side, as the UDA side, are cognizant of. They've not refused that the cost of living is high. They're saying that we do understand. And they're telling us, we gotta wait. Yeah, just give us some patience on that. On that particular one, is it a lost cause?
Simba, I said, and I will repeat, that these talks are meant to yield no fruit, especially to the electorates. The politicians may win.
In what fashion are they going to win?
Because politicians, of course, there are positions which will be created. I'm wondering, there was a proposal to have the office of the opposition leader.
They're not falling out on it, by the way.
Of course,
they've not fallen out on it.
It's in the report.
That's it. They've not fallen out on it.
Already, the constitution is very clear.
That's it.
That the House standing orders provide for opposition positions in government, including the leader of minority, the minority whip. That is already in the constitution, and there is nothing in the constitution that prevents that prevents a leader from being nominated into those positions. But my question is, why did we get ourselves to these talks?
Yes.
How did we get ourselves to these talks?
That's it. Simba, I want us to take a tiny breather just right now.
Yes.
Come back and essentially talk about, because the question is going to be, Simba, and then once we come from this break, by the way, there are other issues that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
About how this particular feeling on the report and then what Kenyans essentially need is reflected in the just postponed UDA grassroots elections. We're going to talk about that. Because there's a general feeling that from within the government and from within the party, they do not want to face Kenyans. There's a general feeling about that because majority of Kenyans are asking them, you've not delivered. We don't feel it.
Exactly. They cannot face Kenyans, Simba. In fact, as we close for the break,
yes,
there is serious protest in the mountain for even candidates to register for leadership positions. I mean, the grassroots politics of the party.
Yes.
Because they are protesting the high cost of living.
Guess what? Once we come back then, the question is going to be, are you looking forward to this report on Saturday? Jukoni is already saying, those tax cuts are panabwana, they got to wait. Once we come back, we look at this particular issue, talk about the old saga in the country, and clear on the postponed UDA elections. Grassroots, by the way. They were supposed to happen on December 9th, all right? But they've said, well, take them to April next year. Questions about the delivery of all the elected party members of UDA. They do not want to face Kenyans. They've been told, kwa ground, vitu ni mbaya. Once we come back, Simba and I are still on it.
There is a biblical quotation that says, whoever gives to an orphan lends to God. Today was a great day for us. We have received and hosted a wonderful and great team from Tatua Tatu who have come to make a day brighter for these kids and for our beneficiaries.
I thank you, Tatua number 3, for coming. May God bless you, and the gates of Rafiki are ever open, and you are welcome and welcome again.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. We are with Simba this morning, essentially talking about that report. And by the way, we do promise that once they release that report, we'll be live right here at Lookuptv across all our social media platforms, on our website at www.lookuptv.co.ke. Good. Simba, you're on a break. Went on a break when you're essentially laying ground for why we got into these talks in the first place. When I asked you, on the back of that advisory from Njuguna Ndung'u, saying, well, the tax conversations have to wait, is this a lost report on the basis of the azimio demands? That the only reason, if you do remember, why the demonstrations in the country got worse in the second round is because there was a general feeling from the public that the cost of living and the taxation regime was punitive. Now, if indeed Njuguna Ndung'u is telling them, stop, is it a lost cause for the Azimio coalition in as much as that report is concerned?
You see, Simba, this conversation, we must ask ourselves, yes, how did we get to this point in the first place? And the parties engaging in this conversation. Yeah. In reality, or what has been projected, is that it is Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Let me believe or bring myself to the fact that Azimio are talking for the Azimio electorates, and Kenya Kwanza is talking for the Kenya Kwanza electorates, because that should be the position. But I would want to introduce a third thing, that in reality this is a talk between the ruling coalition Kenya Kwanza, Azimio, who are represented in the talks, and the people who are spectators, but very important and very vital. So we were not on the table, but we may be the menu. We were called to give our suggestions, but first politicians, they want to secure their interests. Right now, the Azimio went in the guise of the public interest and demands. There were demonstrations. And why were people demonstrating? The electorates were demonstrating against the high cost of living. Looking at the point when these conversations began to this point when the report is to be tabled, a lot of things have changed. But one thing that has changed and has immensely changed upward is the cost of living. There are so many taxes that have been introduced, and there are so many that are proposed, including raising the land, the land service charges. When if you are, for example, if you want to register a property, you'll have to pay more than what you were paying, almost double, yes, what was being paid.
Yes.
And you see, there are certain silent features of good taxing system. You must not tax to an extent that you leave the taxpayer crippled. And that is what the electorates are crying for. They need the taxes to be reduced. Right now, Simba, having 1,000 shillings is nothing. It can only afford you breakfast. And that is a family of 2 or 1. And that is not a proper breakfast. I'm talking about those who are living, who are living below there are people who are living below $1 a day. So you do not expect to dish out positions to the opposition and create the position of a prime cabinet secretary whom we have not seen his role per se.
Yes.
Then the plight of the many million Kenyans are not factored in. So there is a possibility that if these, and Azimio have also seen this,
yes,
that if these are not, the demands of the electorates or the demands of the people are not factored in, then they will have no basis, because they found their strength on the people, or from the people, the reaction from the people, the demonstrations and the cries. But most importantly, the reason as to why I gave the analogy of 3 participants, the Kenya Kwanza, the Azimio, and the electorates, is that right now, none of those political formation, if at all, if there is any that is advancing or championing the needs and the real concerns of the electorates, then it could be up to 30%. But 90% is they're championing their own interest. Yes. That is why there is a lot of resentment both in Kenya Kwanza electorates and within the Azimio electorates, now Kenyans. Because you see, we are only divided along our tribal lines when it comes to looking for votes. But someone, I had Nandi, the former Nandi Hills MP, he was speaking passionately on the cost of living. And one thing he said is that when you go out there to buy fuel, there is no fuel that is reserved for those who are shareholders and those who are non-shareholders. When you go out there to buy food, in the supermarket, there is no shelf that is reserved for the shareholders and the shelf that is reserved for the non-shareholders. That's true. And that is why Kenyans will unite. And that is why the ardent followers of the Kenya Kwanza government are actually revolting. You saw from the report, I was reading through the Standard, yes, and it was very clear that very few have shown interest for the UDA grassroots elections. Why? The reason is that they are protesting the high cost of living. And as we speak, the elected members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza cannot face their people because they had a very good and lucrative manifesto, but the implementation has been below 2%. I say below 2%, not based on any other, but facts can speak for themselves.
Yes.
They promised that in the first 100 days, they would reduce the cost of unga. They would reduce the cost of fuel. In fact, I could quote the deputy president verbatim. Tukiweka Biblia chini hivi, the cost of unga would go to 100 bob. I think he said that. Yes, sir. But right now, what is the cost of unga, Simba? I believe they are also buying unga. And when they are asked, they will always come and blame the Israel-Hamas war. They will come and blame Uhuru Kenyatta. The other day, Uhuru Kenyatta came out, guns blazing, and told them, no, you cannot keep blaming me 1 year into office. They set their own tax targets. They did not meet it, despite the high taxation. We find billions of money disappearing in very mysterious circumstances.
Yes.
And there are people. The other day, yes. The minister or the cabinet secretary for petroleum, that is energy, yes, was heckled at his own home turf, Bomet. He was being heckled not by the Luos, not by the Kambas. I speak of the Luos and Kambas because when we had demonstrations last time and there were guys who were shot in Kitengela, we were told that Luos were ferried from Kisumu to demonstrate and as such they were shot. But now this is a scenario where the shareholders are heckling their representative, their NRGCS.
Like they say, the shareholders themselves.
Yes. It means that things are not that easy.
In the scenario, Simba, in this scenario, and but take a minute on this before we jump into the next issue this morning, that the Azimio coalition jumped in with these fresh demands at the report writing stage. Not all this time at the Bomas of Kenya, more than 2 months, Simba, at the Bomas of Kenya, just to weigh in on these issues.
Yes.
But at the report writing stage, that's when they jumped in and said, well, guys, gotta cut all these things, that's exactly what we need. Could you make us understand, is it the Azimio coalition that now is looking at how the 2 months have gone from the Bomas of Kenya up to where they are right now, during the report writing stage, and they've thought, we can go back like this to the people. We gotta give them something. Is it throw these demands in, if 1 or 2 of them then go through, at least we can face the people and tell them, you see, we forced them to do 1, 2, 3. Is it possible? Is that the scenario? Because at no one point, Simba, have we had, they've clashed on entrenching the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Constitution. At not one point have we had that they clashed on how the office of the opposition was going to look like. At not one point have we had them clashing on giving the CDF kitty to members of parliament. We've not had that. The only things that we keep on hearing, Simba, is on the cost of living, where it matters for majority of Kenyans. Is it Azimio trying to save their face, Simba, when you look at it like that?
You see, it's very hard, and that's why when the Bible says that it's very hard to know the heart of a man. So the heart of a man here, we speak of the intentions. Because the rules of engagement is that if you do not raise it at the discussion, then it should not be
at the report.
The same thing, if you do not plead it, don't expect a judgment out of it.
Is Kalonzo failing? If indeed what is being alleged is true, that they came up with fresh demands at the report writing stage.
I saw the demands they tabled initially. One of them was cost of living. So there could be a possibility that they were shut down, or the other party were able, the Kenya Kwanza coalition were able to convince them on the current situation, and they budged. And right now, they, like you've rightfully put it, they need to give a scorecard. We sent them, and we need you to come, because this will put them in a very, and you see, I'm really wondering, why is Azimio in the first place asking for the cost of living to come down? Yet a responsive government that was elected by the people are opposing that. Do you see any irony in that? In the first place, they should be the one to be concerned with the welfare of their electorates, with the welfare, not even of the electorates. We are, because Article 10 of the Constitution, on the principle of national governance, we should not be discriminated. That's why even that politics of shareholders is a violation of the Constitution. Someone should put the DP to really put this be on task on that issue. But now my question is, it's like the government of the day is not concerned.
They tell Kenyans that we have a plan.
Which plan? We are 1 year.
If you listen to the government
into their rulership,
if you listen to the government spokesperson, I think it's a week ago,
he
said, let's give the government 2 to 3 years. So what he was not so sure about, then we looked at that statement in the newsroom, is it 2 years from now? Because if you say 2 years from now, That means they will deliver in the last 1 year of them in office. If you say 3, then...
Simba, when you prepare, when you make a manifesto, there are long-term goals, there are short-term goals, and the short-term goals could be as short as 1 month into office. The others that could be 1 year into office. The others that could be even 5 years into office. We are not asking for the long-term objectives and manifesto from the ruling coalition to be fulfilled. All we are asking is that they promise that within 100 days they will deliver this, and they are yet to deliver. And they cannot shift that blame to anyone. So how long could we wait? Because we are now 1 year into this government. 3 years, we will be engaged now in politics. And you see, sometimes, Simba, I wonder. The other day when the deputy president was talking in Meru, he said that, you see, we need to, in 2027, we need to increase our shareholding from 47% to 60%, so that, still advancing the politics of shareholding, so that we can maintain our seat and have a stronger bargaining power in this government. Meaning that right now what concerns the DP and the politicians is how to be re-elected in 2027 and how to vote in the new government. Yet you cannot ask for more when you have not even delivered the little that you were mandated to do. There is one mantra that always drives me, Simba, that the reward of good work is more work. You cannot expect more work when in the real sense, or if in the real sense, the little that you promised you have not delivered. So as we speak right now, there should be a lot of activism. If the politicians cannot help us, then we should now stand out to fight and defend for our rights. And this can be done through various avenues, through political activisms, human rights activists, through public interest litigations, just to ensure that politicians know that, see, Simba, there is a time, let me use this analogy in the Bible, when Mordecai had gone to Esther, there was a crisis, and Haman was planning to slaughter the Israelites. I mean, there was a very well castrated plan to wipe them. And by that time, Esther was well positioned as the queen to advance the interest of her people. Then Mordecai went to her and told her of the plight of their people. But there's one caveat that I loved about Mordecai. That if you do not help us, not even yourself and your family will be spared. You get my point? And that is something that we need to know. That if the government does not come to our rescue, if the political activists do not come to our rescue, however rich you are, you will not be spared. Why? Because when the cost of living, for example, is high, very many employers will lay down their employees, and that means pay will go down. Very many companies will close, and that means that taxes will not be paid. I loved how Samia Suluhu put it the other day, that you should not have tax systems that scare away investors. Because when you scare away investors and you harass them every time, you saw what happened to Keroche breweries and everything, you harass them every time, they will force to close down. And when they close down, there is massive unemployment of those that they had engaged. And when you do that, none of you will be spared. That's why the government right now, they are not spared. They did not meet their tax obligations. Let's sit down, let's discuss on how to have tax regimes that would provide an amicable environment or a conducive environment to transact businesses, to even start small businesses without, right now, selling your own land. You have to part with a lot of money, Simba. So if this government does not become responsive, they shall not be spared.
Pretty much. guess what? I want us to quickly jump into the next story this morning. By the way, and Kenyans have been treated to an oil saga that has more questions than answers. Okay, so yesterday, Anjeri and Chirchir was supposed to appear in front of the National House, but then those proceedings did not happen because Anjeri was declared sick and immobile. Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, it's a good thing that we have an advocate in the house. We'll be asking him, when I say I'm sick and immobile, when does it become irrefutable that I can appear before the National House? Once we come back, let's take a look at that story.
Point whereby an action should be taken.
Businesswoman Anjeri Njoroge, the owner of Ant Imports and Exports, and a person of interest in the 17 billion oil consignment scandal, failed to appear before the National Assembly on Energy to give details on the contested multi-billion oil imports. Njeri on Tuesday evening, through her lawyer, wrote to the committee chaired by Vincent Musyoka, claiming she is indisposed and immobile.
Is a no-show. For now, we cannot be able to tell why. She is immobile. I don't know if the vehicle broke down yesterday or exactly what happened.
She did not, however, give any documentation showing that she was unwell, asking the House team to reschedule the session for a later date. Musyoka expressed dissatisfaction with Njeri's move, demanding that the businesswoman provide proof for her hospitalization.
We set a different date.
That's it. I mean, there are so many details as well. She was on offshore. Even yesterday, her vehicle broke down on the way to being next to the city so that she could appear in that sitting. Let's take 2 minutes, maybe, Simba, on this particular one for the sake of time this morning. It's a good thing that you're here. If I'm supposed to appear in court,
yes,
right? And then my lawyer writes to the judge and says, Simba cannot appear. He is sick and completely immobile, can't appear. When does it stand to be a proper testament that I can't be there?
There is, the testament is very simple. That he who alleges must prove. You allege that your client is sick. Where is the proof? Is there any medical report showing that your client is sick? That is something we normally use in court.
Yes.
Even for advocates, you could be sick and you could seek an adjournment on that account. But you must present a medical report. If
to go with the lawyer's letter.
Yes, to go with the lawyer. Attached here with is a medical report from so and so doctor, just detailing that my client is sick. If it's an accident, you must prove that. If it's, for example, you are out for burial, yes, you must prove that you actually were not able to come on that ground. You cannot just throw excuses. You see, even when Simba, I remember I went to Fortune Academy. Fortune Academy is a school that was very strict, especially when it comes to truancy and absenteeism. There is a time I was absent from school, and when I went, they asked me to go and bring a medical report to show that I was sick. And I didn't go to the hospital. I had to bring my mom to narrate and explain to the school that though he was sick, I did not take him to the hospital. Just went over the counter and bought some drugs for him. And actually, there were proof of that. But that does not work here. When it comes to, because you see, National Assembly Committee as the same status, just like any court. They have powers to summon a witness, like they did. So if it is true that the witness therein was indisposed, then we need clear proofs that she was indeed disposed. But then,
you see, we've seen it before, though.
Yes,
it's not the very first time that these committees in the National Assembly actually invite witnesses, and it becomes a no-show, and nothing is essentially done to them.
That is contempt. And there are clear guidelines on how to punish contempt. It's contempt of the assembly, contempt of the national. Contempt of court. You see, going back even to going back to Mwangaza's impeachment.
Yes.
One of the grounds leveled against her in support of the impeachment was that she was in contempt of the court, and the lawyers had to come on the date of the hearing. They had to come and defend that position. That I was when I was summoned, I was not able to come, and I wrote a letter, and this letter was backed by this evidence. And this evidence, in the evidence, she promised that should she be summoned subsequently, then she should appear. Did that appear in that letter that was addressed to the National Assembly? No. So the manner in which we operate with impunity in this government is really devastating. And as I said, politicians have ways of putting proxies in very compromising situations, because some of these proxies, they do not understand the implications of their conduct. I'm not saying that she's a proxy, because there were very many issues that were raised, including on whether she looks like a billionaire or not. We have seen the likes of Ngiritas walk through the same path in the past. So that is something that is left to the court to decide whether she has the face of a billionaire or not, that she owned this money. But one thing that you must appreciate that is going on in this country is that Kenyan politicians have gone a notch higher in cleansing dirty money, in money laundering. They have gone a notch higher. They would bring someone that you would not expect, and you see, and this is from the witness. The witness actually had two names to flout. He flouted the Kapsaret member of parliament, Oscar Sudi, and he also called Chirchir. Chirchir should come out and defend his name as the cabinet secretary. And Oscar Sudi, as a politician who is also very serious in the shareholding, should also come out and just defend that position. And one thing, Simba, as I conclude, this energy sector, there must be something wrong. Look at even the composition. The Ministry of Energy, out of the six, in fact, all the CEOs are from the same region. Have you ever asked yourself why? Could it be that there were no competent persons from other regions to hold those positions? That is going against the values as enshrined in our constitution. And as you all know, there is a whole chapter in the constitution, chapter 6, talking about leadership and integrity. But we normally crucify this in the altar of political interests, so that a politician who is mad with corruption allegations will just align himself with the political formation that seems to be winning an election, or even after winning an election, they will cross over to that political formation and they will be sanitized. There is a time that politicians would go to Capitol Hill to be sanitized. And you cannot fight corruption when there is no political goodwill and independence of, there is the independence of the independent bodies. Because some of these independent bodies are being directly controlled and directed. You saw, even, I don't know how the former DPP was again elevated to the NIS boss if he admitted that some of the prosecutions and the cases they initiated were politically instigated. It means, what was he saying? That he is not independent. He can easily be compromised. So we want to see, will the independent bodies rise to the occasion, the ethics and anti-corruption, will they rise to the occasion and investigate this matter independently? Why are they not moving with speed, the same speed they are moving with in Governor Oparanya's case? We cannot weaponize independent bodies, Simba.
Pretty much. Guess what? Simba, you only have 15 seconds to essentially respond to this.
Yes.
UDA grassroots elections that was supposed to happen on December 9th, they're not going to happen.
Yes.
All the way to next year. Two issues here. That majority of the electorate is concerned that these elected party members who are predominantly government have not delivered on their promises. And number two, there are quotes here from the mountain that are concerned that having two deputies in that particular party would give someone, the party leader who essentially was going to assign to the president, the right to choose either of the two as the deputy. 15 seconds, Simba.
Is it Kenya Kwanza grassroots elections or UDA?
UDA.
Because if it is UDA,
yes,
then it's not what I guess. Because Mudavadi is not is not in UDA. Mudavadi is in how do you call it? ANC. But then I told you, and I was wondering, how did Mudavadi agree to his lieutenant and ardent supporter, Cleophas Wakungu Malala, to cross over to be the UDA acting secretary general? And how did Veronica Maina, agree to relinquish that position to take another position in government?
Yes.
And right now, they are demanding for the position of the Secretary General. Let me tell you, there are two things here.
Yes.
The elections were postponed on two bases. The first basis is that the mountain, the electorates right now are not so much concerned with the elections. In fact, they would boycott. If it was done today, they would boycott it. Why? Because your promises do not mirror your services. Number two, the elections were postponed because the mountains feel, with that background that the electorates are also rebelling, they feel that they need to get the greatest shareholding in this UDA party. And that is something that the president will not allow. Why? Because in politics, there are no permanent enemies, there are no permanent friends, there are only permanent interests. The president already has seen that there could be rebellion from the mountain and must now shift his energy to other areas. And that's why the president, though not coming out clearly, is with Cleophas Wakungu Malala.
Guess what? We'll invite Simba again so we can table this conversation of the fire within the UDA party. But then, listen, this is according to the generic governor. This is what he said as we essentially then get ready to check this break right here on the Morning Drift. This was saying, and this is a direct quote, "We will not stand for efforts to water down the position of the deputy party leader. We maintain that the party constitution must conform to the constitution of Kenya, where you have only one deputy president." Good. Wahome Matangi's Nyeri Senator is saying, imagine a situation where Gachagua, being the senior most political figure in UDA, by virtue of being DP, has several other officers who have his status in the deputy hierarchy. As of now, that's what it is. So we wait up to April next year and see exactly how these things are gonna go. But as for now, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Good. Taking back to the time that he joined us right here at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. That is at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba, by the way. Thank you very much. The hashtag is the Morning Drift. This is what is happening currently. The CS Education, that is One Machogu, is in State House briefing the president on how the KCPE examinations, but they're the last of its kind, happened this year. After that, we'll be heading straight to Mitihani House, yes, to release those particular results as we then get ready to join our teams that are live on the ground so we can get to see exactly how those particular students have performed at a time when they're supposed to go to junior secondary school. Now, the biggest move now in the Ministry of Education is that the president has been urged to do away with junior secondary school and just maintain it to secondary schools so that they can save funds within that Ministry of Education. Is the CS going to talk about something about that? Our reporter Henry Tende is live on the ground to give you that covering. And you can join us again live at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I'll see you tomorrow for another session, isn't it? Goodbye.
Welcome to Zahara Gardens, located in the serene Rosegate Nashu area of Dagoretti Mutarakwa Road at Shell Lusingeti. Zahara Gardens is a haven of tranquility, margin affordability and wholesome family living.